Hey, welcome back. This is another Lunch and Learn. Today, we're going to look at the iPad and how we can include or increase student cognition. And so, the idea today is looking at a couple ideas. First off, when I was looking at using the iPads and how we can use the iPads more, I was thinking, okay, well, maybe we can just do it one time a day, or try to get at least a daily thing. But I also was suggested that maybe it was better just for the students to just use the iPads as like a kind of final wrap up piece. The iPads are definitely more than that, but I can definitely see what this was from my classmates in grad school. They were talking about how iPads can definitely become one of those things where you do the work in the classroom and you learn some content, and then if you want the students to then process that content, they've uploaded all this information, you've uploaded that information to them. They found how much information they need to process it, and so the iPad actually lends itself very easily to that. So we're going to look at some iPad and cognition. So I'm going to hop over to my iPad real quick, and we will get started. So let me flip that on. Screen mirroring. So I'm going to turn on my reflector, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually associated with a iPad stand right now. And let me go and share my reflector to y'all. There's up. Yep. Alrighty. So screen share and get the iPad up. There you go. So again, I'm using actually a reflector right now and an iPad stand. What's nice about having an iPad in class is that as a teacher, I can use this iPad stand as a document camera and not really have to worry about extra wires or extra cords if we've got something like an Apple TV, or if we've got something like a document or sorry, an iPad stand with reflector or air server or something like that. And so your iPad then actually becomes your components. So we're going to look at iPads for cognition, and so we're focusing on the iPads and how the students can use them. So first off, let's look at cognition. So from Psychology Today, it basically just says cognition refers to thinking. So simply, we want the students to think. And so a lot of times we focus so much on just them getting information, we're not giving them the time to think. So that's what we're looking at today. So I want to give you a couple suggestions, some apps you can use for that cognition piece. So the first thing is annotation. So don't just, here's a bunch of notes. So one of the ways they can process those notes is actually add annotations to those notes themselves. So let me go full screen on this one. So there's got a couple of different apps. There's actually a way you can do this on the iPad itself, already built in, and then there's some apps. So first off is in iOS 11, they actually built in an annotation component. There's also a couple other apps. We use Show Me here or Educations, and then also Explain Everything. There's a fantastic app that actually Educations, or sorry, Explain Everything does allow for some collaboration as well now. And then also, you've got Notes and you've got Google Keep and you've got all kinds of different things to annotate. But I'm going to show you the new iOS 11 annotation. So let's say, for instance, we're going to go ahead and flip open our camera. And so what I've got here is I've got a copy of Sports Illustrated, and you're saying, okay, well, what's Sports Illustrated going to do for us? So let's go and flip to it. So what I want to do is, let's say we flip through here and we find this image, and we want our students, we're in geometry, and we want our students to actually be able to determine these angles right here. Well, as a student, I can actually go ahead and snap a picture, right? I can pull that picture up in my photo gallery. Okay, so here's my photos. And if you click, and I don't believe you'll be able to see this, but if you actually click on the edit, and then you go to the little three dots over here. So again, if you look right here, there's little three dots. On those three dots, there is the annotate or the markup option. Okay. So now as a student, what I can do is I can actually take these pins down here. I can go and zoom in. We can say, okay, if we know that right here to right here, all that is a 90-degree angle, right? Then we know that this angle right here is we're going to assume that that is actually circumventing. So we're going to go ahead and use a different color. We're going to mark this area and that area. The green is 45. So if we're talking right triangles, so now we're using real world examples. Okay, we're saying, okay, well, that angle right here, if this angle right here, that's obviously a 90 angle. So if that's a 45, that's a 90. We can mark that as a 90. So we can say, okay, well, that's 90, that's 45. Then this angle, what is that angle in blue? Well, that angle in blue, because it's a special triangle, is a 45-degree angle. And so what we're doing is we're using real world applications into what we're learning as geometry, right? So that's actually using the markup tool. So for instance, we can actually go ahead and flip to and we could turn that in, you click done, we could save those annotations, and we can actually add that to there. But now if I flip back over to my camera and I keep going, and I found another great image. Back to the camera on my iPad. Yep. That's the problem. It's stuck on this one. I'll push cancel. Get it back to our camera. There it is. Okay. So we have this image right here. So I'm going to zoom out. And notice that you can zoom in and out as you need. Okay. So let's say we're teaching a physics class. Okay. So what we can do is we can actually go ahead and again, we can grab another picture. We can take that picture. Again, I'm going to go ahead and click the edit. It's off the screen. And I'm going to click on the three dots. And we can do things like, we can label things like right here, what kind of force is on the ball? Well, there's obviously, gravitational force, or FG. We also have we have a friction force of air, which is going back against the ball. So force of friction. And we also have the applied force, which is actually coming out of the ball. So we're going to call this dot, and that applied force is the force of the quarterback. So we're going to have Q. And so as a student, I can actually break these things down. And what's great is that we're actually annotating, but if we wanted to, we can even use this into, if we use something like Show Me or Edge Creations, we could record these annotations that and turn that in. So we're recording both the voice as well as the actual annotations onto the student. So we're looking and giving the opportunity for the students to annotate some real world examples using the markup tool. And we're pulling in new examples into those components. And so another idea that you could use, like I said, Edu Creations is another idea. Show Me, explain everything. There is actually a price now to explain everything, but there's a really good concept within using explain everything. So I'll make sure I point that one out. The next idea is using voice. So like I said, I already gave you the idea of using the camera. They can record either themselves, they can record what they're doing, they can actually read a book. If you have the younger grades, or if you have some ESLs, you can use the camera to record things like making sure that they can basically their fluency or their reading abilities. You can do things like DRAs, other components like that also work with the camera. One of the ones I'm going to show you, Flipgrid is fantastic. Check out Flipgrid Fever. I do want to show you though Apple Clips. So I'm going to flip back to my home screen. And on Apple Clips, what's nice about Apple Clips is you can take a video that's already recorded. You can record a video. You can do all kinds of different things. But what it does actually adds annotations to it, specifically from the iPad itself. So here's a little intro video. And so what I like about it is you can add, again, that text feature to it. So we're going to take the same, I'm going to flip this camera around. There you go. So we're going to use the same image. And let's say we want to go ahead and describe what's going on here. Let's find a different image. So we want to talk about the frogs and the Sooners. So we can go ahead and click on the pink button that will record it. Frogs and the Sooners played basketball, and it was a mighty battle. All right. Now, we can go ahead and down here it says filters, emojis, and stickers. So we can do that. Or what I was going to do is actually the comments down here. So I'm going to go ahead and add comments. We can do live titles to it. And it has all these options down here on the bottom. You see these little scrolls. So I'm going to go and click on the center one. It says speak while recording, add text. All right, cool. We're going to do that. And so now we can actually add live titles to this one specific. So it says frogs and the Sooners. So what's nice is that you can actually go in here, and if they didn't, of course, I don't speak all the time correctly, so we can actually go in here and we can say frogs and the Sooners play basketball, and it was a mighty battle. All right. So what's nice is I can go ahead and click done, and you can say click done on here on the X and click play, and you can actually preview the video. And of course, it didn't take the titles, so I can go ahead and click on that section, add live title, check, done, add the style to it. Which one do we want? We want the one that's actually going to go across. That's the one we want. Click X. There you go. And so it has little annotations on top of it. So you could actually have the kids explain their own phrases, especially like, let's say there's a vocabulary word. You could use this like the kind of the vocabulary videos, and those actually work really well, I think, for students as they're trying to learn what all they're supposed to be doing in class. And again, it's another kind of a cool little way to get that fluency piece, to get some other pieces. And there's more to it. I mean, like I said, like the little star here, you can add extra emojis and stickers and other pieces like that. We can even add a new filters. We can add labels to it, right? We can add stickers, all those great things the kids definitely like to add to their, just almost like Snapchat. When you're adding their own pieces, they feel a little more comfortable. They want to do more into their systems. So definitely Apple Clips is one you should check out to see how the students are going to use it, and definitely something that I find that could be really effective to allow those kids to think. And so as they're creating these pieces, they're thinking about what all do they need to include? What all do they need to add to their their assignment, to where they know that 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 basically they know all the stuff that they're required to do. So definitely, again, Flipgrid is fantastic. What I like about Flipgrid is that think about a message board, but it's a message board that students can actually respond to each other in video. They can even add their own voices to uh, something like a video or an image that has a talking component. And they can add those Flipgrids as well. TouchCast Studio, if you haven't checked that out, definitely check it out if you're looking for some more green screen type action. And the last idea is to go ahead and get the students to write. Four great apps up here: Book Creator, Pages, Google Docs, and the Adobe Spark Post. Again, I put Pages up here. I'm a huge Google fan, but I think the Pages and the Keynote, they've done a really good job. And what I like about Pages and Keynote is they have what's called the the Helix option. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm actually gonna open up Keynote, and I'll have Pages loaded on my iPad right now. But let me show you that. So it's going to load my form of presentations. Push cancel. So there you go. That was a fantastic one I did earlier. Okay. So this is one that Apple gave to us during TCEA when I loaded it. So I'm going to go ahead and actually go ahead and there you go. So I'm sure I'm going to probably like that one. So what I like about the Helix, so let's say we go ahead and we could add an image. So I'm going to grab an image. So we can go to our photos. Let's say we take this image. right here. So this is an image I took a screenshot of a presentation that I saw. I believe it was in a TCA this past year, I want to say. This was during the Google Sim. So what you can do with this image is if you go over here down to the little paintbrush, go to the image options, and you use instant alpha. If you touch and hold, what you can do is you can actually remove all these extra pieces. So see the little blue sections. So pulling those extra pieces allows you, so this is actually a person, then we can put this person in a scenario. Okay. So we can then take this piece, and again, this is a keynote, but you can do the same thing with pages or anything like that. So one of my most favorite commercials right now is the iOS 11 commercial, where the little girl is running around taking pictures and adding images and taking this and using the Apple Pencil. It's a fantastic, it's a fantastic presentation about what you can do using things like Keynote and using things like that, right? So I can actually take that, I can add some my own, double tap this, and I can actually add this idea that kids can learn. I'll put that away. And then we can add more to it. And so this is one of the ways that you can actually add images and text and bring those all those rich components into their writing, because I'm not a writer myself. I'm not a reader. I use the iPad as a way to allow me to express myself and to learn more. But by adding those richer pieces like the images and adding richer pieces like the emojis and the stickers and the filters, sure, maybe the kids are having a little bit of fun, but maybe that fun's going to allow them to actually want to think and add more to their own content. So the iPad, it can be used on a daily basis, but it really shines when you're allowing those kids to be productive and to think. And I think that's really what the iPad does, is it pulls those thinking, it pulls and encourages the thinking with the kids, and it makes them to where they're not shy to think, they're not shy to learn a little bit extra content. So I hope you kind of try some of these out. I'm going to put the presentation down below on the on this YouTube video whenever I go back to edit it just a little bit. So go ahead and take a look at the presentation. All the image credits actually go to the app specifically. So if you don't happen to have these apps, go ahead and download them, try them out. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. My Twitter handle is @PatrickReed28. If you are an Elgin ISD employee, definitely check out the Google Classroom section. Do the additional piece on there, and I will give you some CPE hours. And we will talk again.